love this quote. My background is finance, and this is the reason I got into finance, was to help people turn dreams into realities. Walt Disney was a visionary. He saw a lot of things and built tremendous castles and other pieces of real estate. But notice, there's no people in that picture. So was this his goal? I would tell you this was his goal, is to make people entertained and engage them. So why do people put their hands up in a roller coaster? Anybody know? It's a sensation of taking flight and taking off and reaching your potential. And that's what I'm going to talk about today, is how do you as an organization and your people take flight and reach your potential. So I would encourage you also, at any time during the talk, you can lift your hands and say, "Whee!" Even if you want me to just get you a cup of coffee, please lift your hand. So our talk this morning is about the people side of the business. And I know, just discussing with a couple of you earlier, a lot of what you're trying to do is put in technology. Some of it's to help people leverage their abilities. Some of it may even be to replace what some of the people do. But change leadership is really tackling that people side of the business. And it's really getting your people to take flight and take off. And even as you implement all types of technology, at the end of the day, realize that it comes back to your people, and those organizations that focus on that talent are really the ones that can provide superior performance. So how do you, as CFOs and CEOs, lead change? Whether it's an initiative that you lead, like an ERP system, or putting in a new CRM system, or outside forces. Maybe your competitors have changed prices. Maybe you're looking at 5G, 6G down the road, and that's what you have to introduce. Or macroeconomic conditions. What we went through over the last couple of years has been dramatic, and that's caused a lot of people to rethink what they're doing and how they're doing it. So this morning, I'm going to take you on a ride. So our first peak we're going to hit is change. What is it? What does it look like? And how can you navigate that change? The second piece, I believe, is the most integral part of any change effort, and that's leadership. Both your leadership and distributed leadership within the company. And finally, how do you make change stick? You have to embed it in the culture. So a couple weeks ago, I was having drinks with a former boss of mine, president of a large restaurant company. And he said, "We were talking about you the other day." I go, "Uh-oh, well, what is this?" But I figured if he was going to mention it, it had to be something good. He said, "We have benefited so greatly from a change effort you put in place 6 years ago. And it had to do with how they run their insurance claims. We completely re-engineered the process and then embedded it not only in the culture of the headquarters, but also all the restaurants. They have since made several acquisitions. And he says the day they close those acquisitions, they have a huge pickup just taking over how they run their insurance companies. And he said, "We are doing such a great job at this." And on hearing the story, I felt bad. felt unwanted and unneeded. And then I thought about it. This is the highest compliment anyone could pay. What was my legacy at this firm? And how did the change I led and then embedded in the culture turn into my legacy there? So I would ask you, what is your legacy at your organization? When you're gone and leave, how will they remember you? And think about someone in your career that touched you. How do you touch the people that you lead? So I'm going to show a brief video that is the perfect illustration of everything in transformational change and change leadership. Similar to any organization or many organizations, that was a dramatic transformation. But what changed? Right. It was the people that changed. It's interesting to me in that segment that they highlight the new $18 million school and the cell phones and laptops the kids got. But it was all about focus and standards. Starting from the very top. And this is the first tenet of any change leadership. What is your big opportunity? What is the culture and what is the motto that you can embed in the organization that's going to drive people to a certain direction? No kids fall through the cracks. And remember from the beginning, every kid sounded like he fell through the cracks. Direction changed. The principals said they were working hard, but working hard in the wrong direction. How many of the people have seen this in an organization where you've got your accountants working till 8 at night? Or as you were saying, some guy linking millions of spreadsheets together and formulas together? That's working hard. But is that working in the right direction? Teamwork to monitor the kids. A completely different behavior required from their middle management than what was there before. And people at the lowest level, the kids, the kind of customers or your entry-level people, felt that people genuinely cared. Not only because they got a cell phone and laptop, but more importantly because they saw it through the behavior of the teachers. And the tutors came from a local company. I'll let you take this home and you can watch the video again if you're interested. But several times within the video, they invoke the word love and how a tutor came in and gave an extra dose of love to some of those kids. What was the result? We're CFOs and CEOs, so we focus on results. Transformational change. Whereas before, the school could not even get kids and teachers to come, they are now attracting top students. The kid with the plethora story. And that's one of your key goals as a leader in your organization. Attract top talent. Good to great. Get the right people on the bus at the right time. They were able to close the racial achievement gap, something many people say today is impossible. This primarily minority school outscored whites in reading, math, and science. Again, focus on the people and the behaviors. Graduation rates. Can you imagine in your organization if you take a statistic and are able to achieve this type of swing in metric, how dramatic that is? And almost every kid goes to college. What is that like? Versus 12% graduated before that. So if you look at the legacy of not only Anthony Smith, but every teacher in that organization, and Bell Cincinnati that helped, the ratio is dramatic. For every one kid that used to graduate, 8 graduate today. So on that roller coaster ride, when they have that little tiger that says you must be this high to get on the ride, 7 of those kids never even got on the ride. And that is taking flight and reaching their potential. So it's that transformational change. And really what it was is not a focus on results, but it was a focus on change in behavior to achieve results. The key underpinning of any successful change and transformational change is leadership. And there's something called distributed leadership that will increase your chance of success for any change. And distributed leadership means throughout the organization. So if you think about the video, or you yourselves as the CEOs, he was the catalyst for the change. He was the person that started it off. No kid falls through the cracks. But it was really their success with their middle level people, your middle management, and also with the students, every single person in the organization. Remember the teacher that walks through there and laughs, hey, is that clock's even right? What's the chance that person was there when all of the clocks were wrong? Pretty high. She was there. But now she knows that that's a sign of a standard that they just don't want to achieve. If you look at the student, the story about the one kid that walks in the classroom and hears a plethora of words or whatever he was saying, that's leadership from the students, and they're high-fiving each other. Just think about the leadership or lack of that was there prior. And so in any change, whether it's an ERP system or outside market forces, focus on distributed leadership from your office to middle management all the way down. I was talking earlier in the networking to how many people were on Facebook. Not too many. How many people have heard of Twitter? Everyone's heard of it. That's an attention distractor also. But it's interesting that Twitter measures success by the people willing to follow you. That's what leadership is. Can you get people to willingly follow you? And you saw it in that class, in the school. Do people willingly come to school? Well, not before their transformation. Do they come now? They're attracting all kinds of teachers and students. And so often we think leadership is being born in the right zip code or going to the right Ivy League school. It's not. Leadership is everyone's business. It can be taught. It's a set of skills and behaviors that can be reinforced through practice and through training. And I really think this is the most important part of any change that your organization goes through. I work with the Leadership Challenge in doing leadership development, and one of their best quotes is love them and lead them. And what does that mean? You have to love your people. You have to show positive reinforcement. Catch these people doing something good. And your job as a leader in the organization is to key in to when they do a behavior that you want to see repeated, and then immediately recognize it. And And it's that constant feedback, as you saw in the video, the principal saying to the student, did you get an A, did you get an A? How was he able to do that? He was able to do it because he cares about his people, and it's that constant feedback, and it's that candid feedback. And that as leadership is challenging to do for people. So our last peak that we're gonna hit this morning is the culture. What is culture? It's a set of values, beliefs, taboos, behaviors, and symbols. And think for your organization. What are the values that exist in your organization, both intentional and maybe unintentional? And some of the beliefs, and what are the behaviors that you see? In any transformational change project, you're going to want to focus on embedding the new state into the culture of the company. And make it just the way you do things around here. It's not easy, but your focus again is on behavior to achieve results. So how many people think this reflects does this reflect your organizational chart? You're saying so here, you're shaking your head. Why do you say that?
To me, the essence of culture creation is like more circular pattern than it is top-down.
I think you saw my presentation. That wasn't a setup. Exactly. This over here is much more the new world and new way of thinking. This will also be the structure that will achieve the fastest and highest success rate of change. With the short-lived and involves risk, information doesn't flow uphill. As many of you would like it to believe, it really doesn't flow uphill very well. So if you're achieving change, or if you're at Custom Cruiser, this is the structure that's really going to be able to embed change into your culture and make it lasting and make it fulfilled throughout whatever your direction is. This is a fun story. A Japanese grocery store was going through a transformational change, and they got a new leader. And he said, we have to completely rethink how we're doing things. And he wanted to embed that in the culture. Real estate in Japan, as you know, is very expensive. And so he walked into the warehouse one day and saw this guy loading square melons onto the pallets. Well, somebody had innovated and come up with a way to genetically engineer the watermelons so that they could fit squarely on a shelf. And I don't know if they continued to do this, but they're actually able to pack more watermelons onto every shelf.
Yeah.
And we've all been in that position, right? Where you walk into a meeting and someone pleasantly surprises you with a square watermelon. I'm not saying this is the best idea, but if you can get your people and create a culture where these ideas come self-generated, and it's not you walking around having to happen, then your company will achieve much higher performance. So as we come to the end of our ride, fix your hair, get your muffins, coffee. We've looked at 3 things. Change, focus on behavior to get results. So often we look at a dashboard or a status report of a project. If you spend more of your energy working on the behaviors, you're going to move that needle a lot more quickly and a lot farther. first thing you should do in any change effort or in any organization is get a leadership development program going, and not only to train people to those skills, but make sure they're practicing those skills. And finally, culture. Reach everyone. Reconsider the organization chart, which is hierarchical and top-down, and put something in or understand that the mechanism of your organization and information is gonna flow a lot better if the power comes from the center, from your guiding coalition. So a question for you as I wrap up. What is your legacy? What is the change 5 years from now, whether you're with the company or no longer there, that they can say you left in that organization? And I will ask you for a specific action. By the end of this week, what's a project or an area in your organization where you can put in transformational change and achieve the results you want? It's your effect as leaders on people that will really achieve performance. You can have everything in life you want if you just help enough people get what they want. Thank you.
Thank you, Deborah. That was very important.
Leadership, and wanted to get us all on the same page. We can do a deep dive to some of the tools and processes, but I'm wondering if we can't hear from a couple people around Robin at some of the transformational change projects, either you're leading and initiating, or that you feel are coming from the outside, maybe somebody who deals with a lot of technological change. Anybody care to let some of the group know? Some of the projects? You want to talk a little bit about what you're trying to do?
The last one that we talked about?
Yeah, one of the things that fascinated me as you were talking in the beginning of the networking session is how you were looking to expand your lines of business, I think,
Mhm.
or expand in other areas.
That's really where your last comment there. By the end of the week, I do need to clarify further vision, because right now that vision is really only more numbers in my head. I'm looking at providing additional services to the existing customer base to gain more of the customer's revenue share. Currently, it's going to people in the business, but not really our direct competitors. So I'm really looking at additional revenue sources. The other side of getting the change was the customers always want to quote right now. And just that was coincidental, but my wife really was the one that was pressuring, I want an iPad, I want an iPad. So she got the iPad, and I was one weekend fooling around, and I go into our ERP system and start fooling around and going, this works well. Because I've been trying to push to the salespeople the notebooks for getting quotes to customers up front. And the iPad just did a far better job, so. Then by the next week, about 6 of them, here. Nobody said no. It was very easy change because it was well accepted by all customers.
So any other, you're experiencing a lot of change just from an evolution and marketplace standpoint.
Yeah, and that's going on as a company-wide, and we're feeling, well, we are competing against a much bigger giant in the cloud computing space, which is what my company does, is we have a hosted solution for cloud, so developers can use it for customers to put things in the cloud, and we also sell our operating system as a software platform, so companies can build their own clouds. But we're a very small company and competing against Amazon Web Services, so my company is Joyent, and up against the gorilla, but we're doing really well, and we're getting lots of customers coming over from Amazon. So that's been pretty exciting. And I know when I joined Joyent, we were in the middle of doing a NetSuite implementation, but the team really couldn't get it done. It was like one of these implementations that was going on and on and on. So one of the things that I've been focused on is getting them to finish the implementation and get it up and running. We finally are there, but it's come with a lot of project planning and helping the controller see, putting deliverables in and getting everybody to march to those deliverables to get it finally to completion. So that's been very interesting.
Why are people using Amazon? What do you guys do?
Our platform is about 14 times more efficient and faster than what they have. We're just not well known in the marketplace. So once people see it and experience it, they want to come over and then come with all their friends and colleagues. So it's been really exciting.
That's fascinating. I know, I think you talk about